Let's take a look at some charts on Litecoin from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So since Litecoin's halving, not much has happened overall month to month from the fundamental aspects of Litecoin. Yes, they've introduced the beginnings of extension blocks in Mimblewimble in late 2019, but ever since then, not much has happened. In general, price has just followed the rest of the market, especially up and down in early 2020. Since March 12th, Litecoin has really underperformed almost everything else. For some reason, Litecoin and EOS are very highly correlated. So the EOS chart looks exactly like this. This was the halving. You can see there was a lot of just entire market lift into the halving, and then right before the halving rather, it started to die down. Looking at transactions per day and average transaction values, transactions per day have increased week over week since mid-year, earlier this year rather, and I think most of this is mining related, because if you look at the hash rate has also increased at about the same rate since, this is probably March 12th, since March 12th. So I don't think this is organic activity, economic utility other than mining. It's hard to prove unless I look at all the blocks, but that's just an assumption on my part. But in a vacuum, this is bullish. You're seeing transactions per day increase, on-chain activity increase. It is approaching the 2-year range. So if this breaks 15,000 transactions per day, then it would be a reason to get more bullish on Litecoin than you might otherwise be. These are the number of pending transactions on Litecoin any given day. It's usually 200 or less, so there's lots of block space open and available. This is the average block size per day, and it's like 0.2, 0.3 megabytes from a 2 to 4 megabyte ceiling. So lots of space to use for Litecoin if activity ever picks up again. This is a chart of fees, average fees per day, and basically at multi-year lows. This is kind of just another function of showing no one's really using the chain very much. Yes, they have SegWit, which will help bring the fees down, but if there was activity even relative to 2019 mid-year, there would be an increase in fees, and there hasn't been here. Looking at NVT in the line here and monthly active addresses in the fill. Monthly active addresses exceeded multi-year highs really last month. They've come down since then. Again, I think this is mining related. NVT just keeps creeping up since 2017. It's just on a trajectory increase, which tells me two things. One, this isn't inflation adjusted. If this was inflation adjusted, this would be likely flat and not have this rise to it. But the other thing is there's been less and less on-chain activity over the past 2 years, which is what all the other metrics show anyway, but this is a way to quantify that. And NVT making highs, which is not a good thing. If you're bullish, this is definitely more bearish than bullish in a vacuum. But addresses and transactions per day definitely look the most bullish they have in many months, if not years. Looking at MVRV, another one of these metrics that compares on-chain activity to market cap. And this is the buy zone, this is the sell zone. So it's not in the buy zone, but it's closer to the buy zone than the sell zone. So it says there's lots of upside if this decides to make a run. Obviously you want to try to catch it in these buy zones, and then the sells up here. So it looks fine overall in a vacuum. It's definitely not just blanketly bullish, because it could consolidate for 2 years before it makes a move, but it's closer to the buy than the sell for sure. Looking at hash rate and difficulty, this is what I was talking about with the hash rate. Pretty impressive little run here it's had since March 12th on this increase. So mining profitability has clearly picked up. There's either covert ASIC mining going on, because there aren't any ASICs on the docket for the rest of the year to be released, or there's some sort of electricity thing here. I don't know, there's some weirdness because there aren't any new ASICs that I can find coming. So mining profitability must be supporting all this excess hash rate that it wasn't supporting before. And here are all the ASICs. You can see there's no releases in 2020. Very few of the ASICs that exist for the script algo are even profitable. So it's possible that there's a covert ASIC here. It'll be interesting within the next 6 months if there's an LTC script ASIC that gets announced, because then the hash rate picture would make a lot more sense. This is the Google Trends for Litecoin, and like I said in the beginning, There's really been no news of note, no really exciting things going on. Nothing that's going to move the needle here on Google Trends. Probably the flattest Google Trends you can see over the past 2 years for any coin. Looking at technicals, we have Bitfinex long short ratio up here, 50, 200 EMA, yearly pivots, VPVR, and RSI on the bottom here with volume here. So since probably 2018, LTC has just been in this massive consolidation sideways range. You can see it in the VPVR. You know, anything from 25 to 65 is just range. Sure, it's had like 2x, 3x, 4x runs within this range, but until it gets out of this range, it's just going to keep ranging like a ping pong ball going back and forth. So anything above 75 is bullish because it's above the yearly pivot. It's above all of this VPVR resistance. 15 to 200 cross will be bullish. It'll be close to this March, February high. That's what I want to see, really. 50 is the first step because that's a psychological resistance as well. So 50, 75, and then the big end boss is 100 because that's the ultimate psychological resistance, going from 2 digits to 3 digits. Nothing really of note here on the long short ratio. Longs have been coming off since mid 2019, and shorts as well, but to a lesser degree. And RSI is just flat in the middle here at 50. Looking at the cloud, it's not quite above the cloud, so it's definitely more bearish than bullish here. It's got this rounded quality to it. Never something I like to see if I want to get bullish. If it gets above 50, like I said, that's really the price I'd be watching on lower time frames. At any sort of move higher. Because right now it's just kind of sad, saggy, sideways. Not much going on there. And LTC BTC is not great. I mean, it's multi-year lows. It continues to just melt away. There's no divs here yet. We didn't make a lower low with a higher RSI or anything like that. I kind of put this pivot on here as a joke, but I mean, it's possible that if LTC doesn't follow any of the runs in the next few moves for the high caps, I mean, this is just going to continue to melt away until all-time lows. There's just no support down here, you know? There's nothing. It's just an abyss of price discovery to the downside. So LTC BTC doesn't look great at all. LTC USD looks more neutral to bearish than just despair like this does. And technicals are a bit mixed, or fundamentals are a bit mixed, but they're certainly more bullish than they have been over the past few years.